welcome, welcome, welcome to the Pixel. Is this becoming a trend? Jesus Christ. Should we just start this over again? Yeah, let's start it over again. Hello. 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 And welcome to the Pixelated Sausage Show. Hi. Hi. How are y'all doing? Hopefully, well, it's an exciting day this Thursday when I'm recording it. Me with my poofy hair fresh out of the shower. Not so fresh, it was about an hour ago, but relatively fresh. Haven't put any product in my hair. It's getting a bit unwieldy. It's been 3 months since my haircut, so I'm in the beginning stage of what my friend Enchi said is the time period in between maintenance haircuts. He said 3 to 6 months. 3 months, earliest you should go, never longer than 6 months. So I'm saying 4.5, 5 months, I'll probably wait to get it cleaned up and then continue growing it out to the point where it's, I don't think I'm going to look good with longer hair if I stick with it this time, trying to do it the right way. But I'm going to see what it looks like if I make it that far, if I have the strength just to see. And maybe I'll like it, but I figured, why not while I still have it? I keep getting told by everyone that my hair is going to last a while, but you never know. You never know. What do they always say? Your, I don't know, something on your mother's side, your mother's grandmother's father's. I don't remember what the saying is. I'm also trying to grow out the beard, and this is the longest. If you are watching the video, this is the longest I've let it grow out since going to the mustache. So I'm still sticking with that. All very, very exciting. I know there's nothing possibly that could be more exciting than me talking about growing my hair out and my beard out today, January 16th, 2025. Nothing could top that. Oh, God. I am wearing one of my colorful button-ups, one of my favorite ones, for Gundam. It's a very nice floral one that, unless you look closely, you won't see the Gundam on it. It's very colorful. Here, you want to peek? You want to peek? There it is. And there I am. God almighty. I just noticed, maybe you'll see in the video, or you can see on YouTube if you close up, you full screen it on a big screen, but the blue in the shirt and my eyes, they kind of match. Can you see? I have blue eyes. Is that really surprising? Look at me. I'm so fucking white. Of course I've got blue eyes. And people call this hair, if you are watching the video, people say this is dirty blonde or strawberry blonde. What the fuck are they on? I can see maybe in the mustache, because my facial hair ranges in colors of all things. But I don't see how my hair is anything other than light brown? How is this any shade of blonde? How does blonde get this dark? Does it? Does it really? How? I don't get it. Get me back to black and white. And then in black and white, it just looks super dark, doesn't it? Or it just looks brown. Nobody would think in black and white I got blonde hair. So how could I in color? Tell me that. But where was I going with any of that? I have no idea. Growing out this, growing out that Gundam shirt. Oh, so the Switch 2 was announced? Yeah, that happened today. Just kind of happened. Somewhere between 7 and 8 in the morning Central Time. Not much fanfare, just a 2-minute and 22 second video showing off the new hardware, which is a bit bigger. Now has the magnetic Joy-Con controllers, which instead of snapping, we get a little clap type of noise associated with them, which sounds good. I think the clap works well to distinguish the difference in how it connects to the hardware. And then we saw what is a new Mario Kart game, because that track is not in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I am so curious. They could call it Mario Kart 9, but I was joking when I said this to a friend. But I also think they could up it, because Deluxe is not as nice as editions get of games. Usually the Deluxe edition is the one above the standard edition when you're looking at, say, Ubisoft games or other such games. And they've already done this other iteration with their Super Smash Brothers game. What if they did Mario Kart 8 Ultimate? And it was the Ultimate Edition that had everything from the Switch version. And now it's going to get some new tracks added at the launch of it, as it'll launch with the console, along with updates over time. That's where I was going with that. Or it's probably just a new Mario Kart. But we didn't get anything else in terms of what games will be coming out at launch. This wasn't really a big reveal event. It felt very just tossed out there because of all the rumors and everything going on. Just hey, everyone, here, we're sick of y'all speculating. The Switch 2, it's real. I mean, we all knew that there was a new console, but the Switch 2, it's called the Switch 2. It's not Super Switch. It's not any of this other crap. It's not Switch with two eyes in the middle. It's the Switch 2, all right? So there's that. Yeah, it's a little bigger. Yeah, it's got the magnetic fucking Joy-Con controllers. And it's got a new full-body kickstand, which I still look at that kind of thing and I think, unless this is getting Netflix and Disney Plus and stuff like that, I don't see the appeal. Maybe for kids they do it a lot, but I just don't see the appeal of kickstanding your Switch and then playing that with people, a group of people. The screen, even with this slightly bigger one, it's not big enough to do that in an enjoyable way. But that's just me. But we didn't get really any details on the hardware spec-wise, so we don't know any of that. Nothing about how it will handle Switch generation games. Will it automatically make them play better? For instance, stuff like the recent Pokemon games, Link's Awakening, etc. Will those, instead of having a very rocky, unstable frame rate, will they be locked at their inherent frame rate? It was typically 30 frames per second. Will they update games for free or a slight upcharge like Mario, Paper Mario, was it? Thousand Year Door, something like that. The one that was on GameCube that ran at 60 FPS, and then the one on Switch only runs at 30 FPS. Will that get that kind of thing? I am hoping that the former is kind of a given and will be the way that works, but I do think hoping for them to actually upgrade games with Switch 2 performance enhancements is a bit of a pie in the sky thing, just based on their track record with updating games. I don't think they do that a lot. They support some here and there, but even to that extent, they didn't do much with Animal Crossing, to my knowledge, a game that sold incredibly well. They just kind of did some stuff for a bit, released the one expansion, and then that was that for one of the highest selling games on the platform. So I'm curious about that, but so far I can't remember if they said when they'll show off more or have a direct that will start talking about games and more details, pricing, when you can pre-order it. But I'm just excited to finally have it out in the open, over and done with. All right, we know. Okay, let's stop. I mean, there's still going to be speculation about price until we get all those details and the launch titles, the titles for the rest of this year. We do see the Mario Kart game, of course, but will we get a new mainline 3D Mario game? I'm hoping we do because it's on my fantasy critic team. But to that point, this may be a hot take. I don't think Mario Kart is a system seller. People will buy it for sure, and it sells incredibly well, and I'm sure because of that, people think I'm nuts for saying that, but I think of Mario Kart more like a Wii Sports game or something that you just have it. It's a default game. It's a game that you will have when you have the system for sure, because it's an easy game for anyone to jump in. It has great accessibility options. And keep this in mind, I'm saying this all as someone who doesn't love Mario Kart. I would rather play Mario Party. So take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. But I don't think it's a system seller in the way something like a new Zelda now, after Breath of the Wild made it into a huge franchise, or a new 3D Mario is, that gets people excited. I don't think people are excited about a new Mario Kart, the idea of a new Mario Kart, because inherently it's going to be a lot of the same. A new Mario, 3D Mario, could be just another Odyssey, but it could be a Return to Galaxy. It could be something completely wild like Sunshine. There are many more options and ways in which it's going to be unique. Another 3D world, there's no telling, but it's so much more exciting than a new Mario Kart, which is just the same gameplay with maybe some slight changes. I don't know if they would really mix up the formula too much and potentially annoy people. Do another double dash, a triple dash or something. But you're just going to get new tracks and updated visuals. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just don't think that's anywhere near as exciting as a new 3D Mario or Zelda game. Of course, there's also Metroid Prime 4, which we're assuming will be coming out this year, if not a launch title. But I don't even have to say that I don't think Metroid is a system seller. It's not. It's shown itself as a franchise that doesn't. It's a lower end one that still gets the love from Nintendo, which is nice compared to other ones like F-Zero or Star Fox that don't get that continued love despite not being the biggest performers. I think Kirby is an example of a series that falls in the middle. It'll never be a Mario or a Zelda, but it sells more than a Metroid, probably because it appeals to kids and families and all that. And Metroid is definitely more, maybe their most adult orientated series. Trying to think of what else would fall into that space. But even something like Pikmin, which I think of and I'm like, oh, is that really that exciting? Do people like that much? I think that's still significantly better than Metroid. Yeah, Splatoon, of course. But the Splatoon, the Switch 2 is real. It's been announced. More details coming soon, surely. Yay. But the way the trailer was shown and all of that, to me at least, it felt way more like a Switch Pro than a Switch 2, because we didn't see any new games running on it. They didn't show anything that we would look at and think there's no way the Switch could play that, like an Elden Ring. It would have been crazy to see Elden Ring running on this new hardware, or some wild looking new 3D Mario, something that makes you go, that can't happen on the Switch. And of course, it's going to sell incredibly well when it launches. No doubt about that. But I've said this before, and I stick to this. I am super curious what the long tail is going to be like, because in my own friend group and extended space, I know of and knew people who either returned to gaming after not gaming since the NES or the Super Nintendo because of the excitement around Breath of the Wild specifically, and they wanted to get Switch for that. And then plenty of people who got into gaming for the first time with the Switch. And to those people, I don't think they either need a reason to keep continuing gaming after this, or they're just good enough. They have their Switch and it has a Mario Kart on it. It has some Mario parties. It has games that they can play with the family, and the family enjoys them. They don't need change. They don't need more. And I'm very curious if those people are even going to care. Maybe down the line, they'll get a Switch too, but the prospect of paying another $400 plus for a new console that plays the same games and then is getting some new ones here and there, a piecemeal. I'm very curious. And I don't think the Switch is going to sell poorly by any stretch of the imagination, but the whatever 100 so-and-so million that the Switch 1 is sold, I wouldn't be surprised if the Switch 2 sold about 75% of what the end total sales for the Switch 1 are. But that's a ways away. I'm also recording this so late, I want to get this out. But that is all that. That is the big news. And then other than that, I've played a few games, but it's been a busy week. This entire year has just been incredibly busy. Returning to streaming. I'm a broken record saying all this, but returning to streaming, doing other things outside of all of this Pixelated Sausage stuff, but on Amazingly Baka, bringing that back earlier than planned, and just getting things together, being more productive, but also then just time is... I haven't had as much time for myself, really, so far this year. And I should probably do that. It's just been work, whether it's work for the site, work in real life, just... So Twitch has been some nice chill experiences every now and again. So one of the last games I played was now. But in terms of what I've been playing for this here episode, just a smidgen, a little tidbit, a little sprinkle of games by the names of Boti, Byteland, Overclocked, Runny Bunny, Garten of Banban 7, and Pets Hotel. So, Boti, Byteland, Overclocked is a 3D platformer where you play as a little robot dude inside of a computer type of setting, and you go around smashing objects, opening up areas by taking the bits and boots you have picked up to increase the RAM of these spots so that you can open up a door, attacking enemies here and there, but a lot of just collecting and smashing boxes and objects and jumping around. You got a double jump, you got a dash that I don't love the feel of the dash because it's more of a blink where you still see the dashing effect, but it feels like you're almost instantly there. And I prefer the sensation of actually dashing. And the double jump it feels all right as a 3D platformer. I like one that when you're close to an edge and you're jumping, your little robot buddy has a little thing where he'll grab onto the ledge and pick himself back up. But I don't like the way they show you where you're located when you're jumping to a platform. So your little shadow essentially under your character, I don't like the way they implement that in the game. But it hasn't been a huge problem. The game looks really, really nice. It's incredibly vibrant and colorful. A lot of colors, and they really pop. It's got a nice look to it, a bit of aliasing, but it looks quite nice and it runs well. But the thing about it is that it's clearly inspired by Astrobot. It is so Astrobot. It feels very much so like, hey, all you other platforms, you're not getting Astrobot. So here, we made an Astrobot for you. It doesn't play as well as Astrobot. It is more colorful, but it's not quite as charming. There's not as much personality in these characters as there are in Astrobot and the characters of that world. And of course, if you really love PlayStation, you're not getting any of that fandom, which is a lot of what Astrobot has. And there aren't any gimmicky mechanics in it, which could be a plus for some, because I wasn't a huge fan of the way at least in Playroom, because I haven't played Astrobot yet, but in Playroom, the way they just did everything they could to show you what the DualSense was capable of. It felt like a tech demo, and I'm sure that's what its intention was, but it kind of got old and a bit tired. But it just feels so clearly inspired by it. The 2 areas I explored, which are pretty lengthy, a good chunk of them were in these beach type vibe areas that felt very, very, very much so like the opening area of Astrobot's Playroom, which, again, not a bad thing, but you're kind of hurting yourself when you're putting yourself up against one of the best 3D platformers outside of Nintendo in recent memory. So you're giving yourself a tall ask. You're not giving yourself any. You're doing yourself any favors with that. But it's fine. It's fine. I played a bit of it and it was all right. There are a bit of DLC because this originally came out on PC and this is the console version of it, and all that DLC is included. I think there's 4 DLC packs. I'm not sure what they all entailed. If part of them are, or a few of them are the soundtrack and art book that maybe are included. But there was a Halloween themed area and a winter themed area. The winter themed area, I didn't see a level to jump into, but I jumped into the first one in the Halloween area, and I didn't know what the fuck it wanted me to do. I was collecting these things, and then I'd dump them in the RAM, and then I'd be sent to the next area. But then in some of the areas, I didn't know how I could progress. So I'm not sure if there are certain mechanics that are eventually shown to you in the main game, and then you can utilize them in later areas. But it was a fine 3D platformer. I had an alright time with it, but it didn't wow me. It felt like a very strong 6 out of 10, low 7 possibly. That's as high as I would go. It was fine. For fans of the genre, a classic for fans of the genre type game. Then Runny Bunny is kind of like that game I talked about last week. I forget what it's called, but that Sokoban-ish game where you are moving your, in this instance, your character around the environment, and they propel in the direction you push them until they hit an obstacle, whether that be a wall or whatever. The difference here is that it's kind of a hybrid between that style of play and a 2D platformer. It has a very feel of a 2D platformer, where you have these designated areas and you have to collect all of the pieces to open up the door, quote unquote door, to beat the level and move on to the next area. The thing I like about it is that it is way more twitchy. The first few levels are very simple. You just follow the path. And in many of the levels that I've played so far, there's not a lot of branching or difficulty in figuring out how to get to where you need to go. But the way they challenge it up is that first, they introduce some spiked walls so that you'll want to avoid those walls and not propel yourself into them. Simple enough to do. Don't have to worry about that. Then they add platforms, blocks that if you hit them, if you land on them, or just move over, they'll send spikes out, but not immediately. So if you do land on one, if you're fast enough, you can move off of it before the spike comes out and kills you. That gets really exciting when they start to put them in spaces and design the levels around you having to interact with those blocks in points where you stop on them, and then you have to be very quick with your reaction to get off them and continue moving to get to the end of the level, collect everything, etc. And then they start having a little red overlay that is constantly slowly moving towards the right so that you have that to deal with that, and that keeps pushing you forward as well, in addition to having to worry about these spikes that come out of the ground. And they might add some more things in later levels, but the quickness of the levels and that twitchy feel to them, the requirement to think and react at the same time, is very, very fun. They're quick levels, they're fast levels. It's not a game with endless like it's a game you'll get through relatively fast because of the fact that the gameplay is quick and there's not a whole lot there. But for a bite-sized single session time, it's what I've played so far, very enjoyable, and I'm excited to go back and play more because it's fun. It's fun. I like the twitchy nature of it. It feels real good. Using a D-pad to move your character and just propel them looks fine. It's just fun though. That is again Runny Bunny. Next we have Garten of Banban, which if you remember any of the times I've talked about this series, not for me, survival horror type thing where you're constantly through these games that are continuing from the last one, typically, if not always, from exactly where the last one ended. You're a parent looking for their kid who's gone missing. And at this point, man, I don't know how much time has supposedly elapsed over all these games, but I think you're going to fucking... I would love it if this series ends with you finding your kid and your kid's dead. But this one immediately bummed me out because the sheriff character who was accompanying you in the last game and you met and started interacting, I think in 5 when they interrogated you and then you were hanging out with them, they're not there. And I didn't finish 6, of course, so I don't know if something happened to them, but I liked that dude and I liked having the company, and not having the company was already a downer. And then every time I play one of these games, I'm reminded of the stupid drum mechanic that you use to manipulate and interact with buttons, which is just such a tedious gameplay mechanic. It doesn't feel good. It's frustrating. It's just so annoying. I wish they didn't commit to that so hard, but I'm assuming that people who like these games like that mechanic for it to remain in all these games. But I played it for 10, I don't even know if it's 10 minutes. I got to this one area, all these spiders on the walls, and then I'm moving around trying to figure out exactly where I have to go. And then a spider, I'm assuming it's the spider Banban thing that they warned me about, just jumped from the ceiling, opened his big mouth and ate me. And I had to reincarnate. I was like, fuck this game. It scared. It didn't quite. Oh god, it didn't quite scare the shit out of me, but it did scare me because I'm a baby. All right, I'm sorry, but I miss my sheriff and I want him back. So that's that. And then Pets Hotel. I played a little bit of it. It's janky. It's ugly. It's boring. Just there are some challenge modes, some tutorials, and a free mode. You have your hotel. You take in clients. They'll call you and say, hey, I want to bring my pet here for this day. I want to have them stay for this number of days. This is their name. Then you register them, wait for them to arrive with the pet. You take it in. You put it in its pen, in its room. If it's a cat or a dog, you can also take in turtles, rabbits, and fish. And then you can pet with them, play little mini games with them. The one with the turtle has you pressing the A button whenever the turtle's head is over a piece of apple, I think. Because I guess in real life, if a turtle is eating, you tap its head and it's like, yeah, I like that. I don't know. I've never had a turtle. I don't know anything about turtles other than when they hit teenage years, they become ninjas, mutant or not. That's all I know. But it's not good looking. It's kind of boring. A lot of downtime doing nothing, which I'm sure will increase as you play more and get deeper into whether it's free mode or a challenge. But at the start, it's just a slow starter and not particularly fun. So that's just a smidgen of what I played of that. But yeah, that is gonna do it for this here episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. Relatively short, simple show, heavy on the Switch 2 and the hair talk because we all wanted that. But that'll do it for this here episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. Once again, I am Marcus Nez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/pxs. There you can get access to a monthly Q&A, the occasional watch party, some fancy Discord roles, a private Discord channel, and the random drop here or there on the Patreon, depending on your tier, of course. Or you can just support me if that is your fancy. That is, again, patreon.com/pxs. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, the Twitch, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. That is P, the letter X, sausage.com. That is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have both a wonderful rest of your day, a lovely rest of your week, and a wonderful weekend. But for now, adios, arrivederci.
It's go time.